You're listening to another ambitious entrepreneurnetwork.com podcast, the voice for entrepreneurs and small business. Now, onto the show.
Welcome to the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, daily conversations with Christian entrepreneurs to inspire and empower Christian business owners to walk strongly in their faith, while build a thriving business that honors Him in every way. Now, over to your host, Anne-Marie Cross.
And welcome to another episode of the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is episode 10, and I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cross, brand and communication strategist, also known as the podcasting queen. Now, do you have an idea for a business, yet you've got no idea of the steps that you need to take to get your idea off the ground, and you're not really supported by those people in your circle because maybe they haven't taken a business off the ground either? Today's guest is going to give her expertise around this because she has done this. Join me on today's show is Rebekah Strachan. Beck is the founder, the creator, and ideas factory of Raw by Beck, a series of group fitness classes designed to shred fat, build muscle, and change body composition fast. What started as a fitness class run out of a hired gym space, Raw by Beck exploded onto the fitness scene and now boasts its own studio on the south side of Brisbane, as well as offering online 8-week body overhauls for those unable to train in-house, and an emerging apparel line. Now, a bundle of energy and zeal for life, Beck has set out to dramatically change the fitness industry as we know it. She's got a passion for agility and making people the fittest, the leanest, and strongest they've ever been. And Beck has a heart for people and an innate desire to change mindsets around health and fitness, all whilst pumping out revolutionary workouts paired with blood-pumping music and an electric atmosphere. And you haven't truly worked out until you've experienced the raw effect. Now, on today's show, Beck's going to share everything that you do in life is preparing you for your calling. You don't need to know how to get there. You just need to know the next step. Now, if God has a vision for you, believe in it, chase it, regardless of what those around you are saying, as well as be faultless in everything you do so that no one has even one negative thing to say about the way that you make them feel. So welcome to the show, Beck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Look, just reading through that and your profile, and I had a look on your website, can really see energetic, dynamic. You just love what you do. And what I'm doing is giving everyone an opportunity to share maybe a snapshot of their career path. And because we're talking today around preparing you for your calling and the steps, we'd just love to know your journey. How did you get into what you're doing today?
Okay, so I actually started studying university. I started studying a Bachelor of Education, thinking that is the way that I wanted to go, and very quickly learned that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I took a gap year, and during my gap year, I worked as a PA for the CEO of a business coaching company. And through that, I kind of learned that I really, really loved business. And had a little bit of coaching from her. However, my love and this thing that I was doing on the side, and I found myself kind of doing late at night, was researching anything and everything about the fitness industry. I had a gym membership, and I used to go to the gym before and after work, and just absolutely fell in love with it. So from there, my coach encouraged me to do my certificates in fitness whilst I was working for her, which I did. And it was the best decision that I ever made. I didn't know that I actually wanted to work in the fitness industry in the, I guess, stock standard way. Like, I didn't want to be a personal trainer. I couldn't really see myself working in that environment. In fact, I thought that I would be in a corporate job. But I made the decision to do it so that I had that qualifications underneath my belt. Next year, I went back to uni and actually studied a Bachelor of Business. And because I was so in love with the fitness industry, I did my Les Mills qualification and I started working for commercial gyms as a group fitness instructor as my uni job, and just having a couple of personal training clients on the side. And because of that, I was then able to tailor all of my exams and assignments in my degree around the fitness industry. Mm-hmm. So I had such an in-depth knowledge of what was coming up, what the industry trends were, what people were looking for, because I had done such in-depth research on it. So I then, for my final subject in my Bachelor of Business, I had to do an internship. And my internship I actually did in event management at my local church, where we ran it was like a Youth Alive event, and I assisted managing that. And through that was actually offered a position when I graduated as PA to the senior pastor of the church. Which I took gladly because it was a guaranteed job. And I then went into 9 months straight out of graduation working for her. And whilst it wasn't the industry I wanted to work in, it was the most, I guess, the best decision I could have made in terms of what I learned. Mm-hmm. I was able to put my degree actually to practice in terms of learning and understanding how a big corporation works, if you want to classify it as big. Mm-hmm. And I learned all about finance and managing things and that side of it. But because I loved the fitness industry so much, I was still working before and after work as a trainer. Yeah. And was loving that. And it very quickly came to the point that 9 months in that I was actually sat down. And so I was PAing the senior pastor's wife. And he sat me down and said, hey, look, you're going to take on, we want to offer you a quote unquote promotion where you take on PAing me as well. So I would take on 2 roles as one. However, because of that, it meant that my responsibilities would double. So I had to make a decision whether I would keep the fitness stuff and pursue doing this, or I would change. And sometimes God offers you like a cherry and it makes you realize what you truly want in life. And I actually made the decision that I was going to stop working for the church, handed in my resignation, and start my own fitness business. Yes. Now, I didn't know that what I wanted to do in the fitness industry, but I just knew that I wanted to be in it, and I loved it, and it was all I thought about. Yeah. So I actually started a personal training business, which I thought I never wanted to do, but it was a really good foot in the door. I actually started personal training for a 4,000 member gym in Brisbane. So it was a very big gym, and I very quickly had to learn on my feet how to manage clients and actually work as a full-time personal trainer, which is much more challenging, I think, than a lot of people give them credit for, because of the hours, with needing to work around people's availability. However, I was still teaching group fitness on the side, and that was my passion. I loved teaching classes, and I was employed by gyms to teach their classes for them. I very quickly, however, came to this roadblock where all of my group fitness classes that I was teaching at, and I think I was teaching across 5 or 7 gyms, it was in prime personal training time that I was teaching these classes, say 5 a.m., 6 p.m. However, personal training was my business, and it was the thing that I earned twice the amount doing. But group fitness was my love, and it was the thing that really set my soul on fire. And I came very quickly to this roadblock that I really couldn't grow my personal training business anymore because there's only so many hours in a day around people's availability. And it was so insanely stressful. You know, I stopped looking at people as people and started viewing them as clients or, you know, as an income for me. And I was consistently stressed about providing the most exceptional service to them. If I even put a foot wrong, I'd be so afraid that, you know, they wouldn't train with me the next week and stuff like that. And so I can remember one weekend, it was over Easter in 2015. I went home to my parents' house for the weekend, and I was sitting on the couch and I was just so frustrated, and something sparked an interest in me that I posted on Facebook, saying that I was going to run these small group training sessions, 4 people at a time, 30 minutes, cash in hand sort of deal. And within, I think it was 12 hours, I had 24 or 25 sessions booked in. And it kind of stopped me where I went, hang on a second, this is something people are after. Like, they're really interested in this. So that next week I booked everyone in and I ran these classes, and it very quickly came to the point that was my personal training business, running these 4 people at a time, small group training sessions. Mm-hmm. I was this radical little girl kind of running around the gym floor and, hyping these people up. And it got to the point that the other personal trainers in the gym actually came to me and were like, could you take your groups somewhere else? Like, we love what you're doing, but it is so distracting. You're taking up too much space. We only have limited space. So I approached the gym and I asked them if I could utilize their group fitness studio when it was available. And they came back with, yes, you can, but you must pay for it. However, because I was renting the space off them, I could train as many people at one time as I wanted, as opposed to just the 4 people that I was limited to on the gym floor. So I rented the space for 1 hour a week. And I condensed all of my sessions into one 5:15 a.m. Thursday morning class. And that's kind of where my mind started ticking, that all of a sudden 25 sessions became 1 and cash flow was the same. Yeah. And that's when, as we were in the studio, I started realizing there's a speaker in here and a sound system. Like, I can use music. And the thing that I was so good at was teaching groups. And I loved it. And so then I just stopped wearing my PT uniform. I just started wearing workout gear and I started training with them. And it became a group fitness class. And that's when I named it. Initially, it was called like Elite Training. And I had all these names that I threw out. And it kind of spiraled from there, that I then added another class. And then I was chatting with the members and we had our own little Facebook group and these people that were doing my classes. I was like, what if we did like a 12-week challenge? And I could add some extra classes. And it just kind of spiraled from there, that as the gym that I was in removed classes, I would take that available space and I'd rent it. That it got to the point that I was renting, I think 7 classes a week is what I was doing across 2 gyms to work with their availability. And I set up a membership base where people could pay a 1 fee and it would give them unlimited classes. And it just kind of grew from there. And then because I was running multiple classes, I created different types of classes. It was a cardio and a strength and a core and all these different approaches, everything to music, everything pre-choreographed. Everything had a choreography page, notes that I would remember and practice and memorize. And then it kind of like started ticking where I was like, this could be a replicable product. Like, people could actually learn to teach this. And so then I had it was actually someone who was doing my classes, approach me and went, I want to learn what you do. And so I started training her up. And she then took on her own class, and then another trainer kind of raised up, and my role then became teaching them how to teach the classes. And it then got to the point that it was about nearly a year in that it was time for me to find my own space. And I know that I'd been sitting on the fence for doing it for so long. But I ran into one of my old group fitness mentors in Coles. And she said to me, look, hey, we've got this warehouse space that we're leasing. It's got 6 months left on the lease. We're actually not using the space. Would you like to sublease it off us? So for me, it was this perfect point it was a transition where I wasn't signing a 3-year lease and I wasn't committing to a 400 square meter space, I could rent 160 square meters month by month. And that's what we did. But because the thing was bootstrapped from the beginning, I had no spare cash to build the studio. So all of my members helped me build it. So we would paint the walls and install stuff and lay the flooring, and it became our own turf to train on, which just grew this incredible community base. And then 6 months in, we, being in that own space, were then able, I think we went to 14 sessions straight away. So we did morning and night. And then 6 months in, I could either take over that lease or find my own space. And I just knew it wasn't the right space. But the incredible thing about it is that there was a space that actually went up for rent 500 meters down the road. And it was perfect. It was exactly what we needed. So I pretended that I knew what I was doing and, signed this lease, this 3-year lease. And on the 2nd of December, 2016, we opened what is the Raw by Bex studio. Yet again, the members moved us from one studio to the next. We had working bees, painting, everything. Like, it was incredible. And yeah, we've just celebrated our 1-year anniversary officially of being a studio. We have, I think, 17 classes a week now. We've launched an online training program, which it's about to just go nuts in terms of, I've developed community leaders where there are people have meetups in rural areas or wherever they are and do the workouts together. And it's just this most incredible community, and it's been so incredibly challenging, but I've loved every second of it. Yeah. And looking back to the last couple of years and how it's been, I didn't know that I'd be where I was today, but I knew that the industry I wanted to be in, and I knew that I just had to take those first steps. And so I think that's just so important, touching on what you were saying before.
I love the story, and normally for people who follow along, I really celebrate alongside you and for sharing that. And I think seeing the progression along the way from where you started to where you are now, there are a lot of different hurdles and challenges and the unknowns. And I think there is a couple of things numerous things that you did do, but I think, through hearing your story, other people who have got a vision or an idea that they can see the progression. So let's dive into some of the things around that. I want to unpack some of the things that you said, because, for some people, they can have, as I said, an idea that they want or a passion that they've had for a while, yet they never quite get to the point that you did where you took that next step. So looking back, in the moments that you had to make a decision, for instance, going back and deciding whether you wanted to take on an even busier role at the church, or do you really want to follow your passion and create your own business? And as we know, as Christian entrepreneurs, our businesses are our mission field. So what did you do, if you can think back to the process, to help you get through that enabled you to go, you know what, this is the decision that I believe is right for me? What did you do?
In regards to making the decision from the church, that was very, very challenging, because quite often you think you're doing God's work in the church, which I was, and I loved it. But I knew, and I'd had a vision probably 2 or 3 years earlier that was so clear from God that I saw this wellness center, and it was a place that people could go and be safe and feel comfortable. And not only love the environment, but actually love the workout. And I had actually drawn it all out. And I think because I had put pen to paper and I had written out what it is that I'd seen, that I could use that as a reference guide. The other thing I think that was really important for me is I got really good mentors around my life from the very initial stages. I was always hungry to learn, and it was at that point, how you hear those stories of like someone would rock up and be like, hey, whatever it is that you want me to do, I will do, just teach me. And I was that person where I was so hungry to learn. And I think as a result of that, those people felt almost a responsibility to guide me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was always my decision. But seeking God's face and getting those people around your life who really, truly care deeply about you and know you inside and out is, it's so important.
Did you have people that were around you that didn't quite understand the whole business? And a business can be really scary. And often, sometimes even people very close to your family, they want the best for you. And anything that they can't perceive and see, they can perhaps, try and steer you away from that. Did you have, because in the profile you said, regardless of what other people around you are saying. So what did you do to lessen the voices, if you will, of those people that try to encourage you to perhaps go a different way than opening up your own business?
Yeah, it was actually very interesting. I love my mum to death. My mum is the best mother in the whole world, but she really wanted me to have security. Which is why she was very, very happy that I was working a full-time job, and to take the risk of moving into business was something that she didn't warn me against or tell me not to do, but she definitely questioned my decisions, and was very clear that, at any given time I could go back to working full-time. But my dad runs his own business. And I grew up around watching him grow and run a business. And I think having him as a constant support in my life was something that definitely guided me. The other thing too is that honestly, if you will always have those people in your life that consistently want you to stay where you are. And it's not necessarily that they don't want the best for you. But it took me a long time to realize that who I was as a human being wasn't dependent upon what anyone else thought of me. And that's something that I think a lot of women especially struggle with. Yes. And I was a people pleaser. And I really wanted to make everyone happy. And as a result of that, I made myself miserable. So sometimes God can make situations so uncomfortable that you have to make a change. And I think that is what happened, is that when I continued to succumb to what people were saying to me, I realized just how unhappy I was. And as a result of that, I chased the other direction so much more. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, thank you for sharing that, because you're absolutely right. I think women particularly can really relate to wanting to please everyone around us. And sometimes there is just no sitting on the fence and trying to be all things to all people. And also, if we look back to what you've shared, and often we can join the dots when we look backwards, we can see God's hand in your life. The passion for fitness, just the things that you study, developing skills, through the PA role, because as you know, in business, it's so much more than just showing up and delivering your expertise to support clients. It's the marketing, the admin, all of that. So you were in that time developing the skills, the knowledge and the experience that would give you a really solid foundation, as well as your studies, a solid foundation to build the business and build momentum. Sometimes that's what you've got to do, is really with faith, recognize what's being shown to you. And because you said, seek God's face first, which I think is so very important. And then the other voices then. And now, looking back, how amazed and supportive must your mum be now? Seeing
totally.
It's just kind of like, Yeah.
Totally. And she honestly, she's the best mum in the whole world. But I think hi mum. But yeah, she wanted the best for me, and so she just wanted me to be happy and safe, and so many other people too. It's business is challenging.
Yeah. What I also loved as well is that, for some people, and I can put my hand up in this, I like to know that what I am doing will have a certain outcome. I like to have a plan. I like to have steps and all of that kind of stuff. So and so being not out of control, but not seeing everything. And, sometimes when God calls us, he doesn't give us all of the answers. And so having that faith and it can be really difficult at times. So share a little bit around what you do, Because I'm sure, did you feel that too, not knowing? And you said just one step at a time. You just need to know the one step. What did you do to enable you to really maintain that vision, even in times where you didn't have all of the answers, but you just knew, you just trusted that this was the way to go? Share a little bit around that, because I think a lot of us can struggle with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely knew I wanted to be in the fitness industry, and I definitely had these visions that I was chasing. But as you touched on earlier, in terms of everything is a preparation phase, that was something that I continuously had to remind myself of. But probably the biggest thing that I did was that I wrote out I called them my personal power statements. But they're like the I ams. So whatever it is that I wanted to be, I wrote them out as I am fit, I am strong, I am a successful businesswoman, I am changing lives daily. It was a blessing being in the industry that I was in, that I was held accountable to people. I wasn't just selling a product, I was selling a service. And as a result of that, for people to actually want my service, it had to be better than everybody else's. Especially for the fact that I was in a commercial gym where people were already paying a membership. And group fitness classes were included as part of their membership. So for me to then ask them to pay to do my classes on top of their membership, I had to be exceptional at what I did. And as a result of that, it drove me to learn everything I could, to continuously assess the trends. But as I was going about that, there was obviously, I feel like once you get something started, there's the initial starting point. It's really exciting. And then you kind of get into the day-to-day or the monotonous. And that is the season where a lot of people fall by the wayside. And they just go, no, it was fun. But I think what was really important was to consistently have people in my life, or podcasts, books, see what is actually out there and what it was that I could achieve. The best trip I ever did was a couple of months into starting this thing. I went to the US and I did 30 group fitness classes in 10 days.
Wow.
And I visited the top studios in LA and New York. I met with all of the owners. I picked their brains. I went up to people that were celebrities in the fitness industry and pretty much went, hi, I'm Beck. I'm from Australia. Introduced myself. I had job interviews. Like, I pretended I was going for jobs just to learn. Okay, so how does this gym work? How does their structure work? What can I learn? And I was really, even in those times, I was so blessed because my Airbnb host was in the fitness industry. And so she connected me with all these people. And so it just opened my eyes to this, because the fitness industry in the US is like 4 years ahead of us. To actually see, oh my gosh, look what can happen. And to come home to Australia and try and explain to people what I'd seen. And this is going back 3 years' time. I was like, there are studios, like fitness studios. It's not just a gym. And everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
And that wasn't heard of in Australia. Whereas now you look at the way that it's going. Everyone's going to studios now. And it's because we're following the US. And so consistently inspiring yourself and making sure that you have this high picture idea of what it is that you're doing makes the day so worthwhile. Pacing that every single day.
Yeah, so important. I love the way that you said that you got mentors. You continued to develop professionally. You went and just surrounded yourself. You went where people were already delivering and creating and offering services in the US where you stretched your vision. I think it's such a great reminder, and you said it already, that when we start our business, we may have an idea or some sort of a vision, Yet don't be disillusioned if it takes time. Business takes time to build momentum. And you probably looking back, and this is such a great reminder for all of us business owners, if we get too busy too quickly and have a deluge of clients, which all of us dream about, you can grow too quick. And that often you hear of success stories where they grow too quickly. They haven't built those foundations. And I think it's such a great reminder, build momentum to continue to grow and deliver exceptional services, which of course as Christian business owners, we want to deliver because that's what God expects, so.
Absolutely. And I think also too, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And I put my hand up first and foremost that I compare myself to the leaders in the industry. And we don't see what's going on behind the scenes, and we actually don't know how long they've been doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
You think that they've been an overnight success.
Yeah.
And quite often it's not the case.
No. And you know what else too? There's two ways to look at that. I think we can look and admire people in our industry that are just doing exceptional things and think one day when I do continue to do what I'm doing, I will be like that. Or we can have that negative, we just say comparison, or we share something on Instagram or whatever. Oh, it only got 2 likes, yet so-and-so posted something and got 1,000 likes.
Yeah,
absolutely know that. But it's so true to keep focused on what is your lane, so to speak. Be the best that you can. Get mentors around you to support you. Don't listen to the negative voice. And I love what you said about, your identity. Don't be disillusioned and think of your identity by what other people are saying about you. The identity is who God says we are, and to find out what that is, we need to constantly, every single day, lean into Him. So that we're not disillusioned by, comparison and what else is going on. Look, Beck, I've absolutely loved speaking with you today. I noticed that we're over half an hour. We're trying to keep these inspirational interviews to 30 minutes, but share with everyone, how can people get to know you and find out more about you? What's the best link?
Well, the best way to connect with me is on Facebook. Literally facebook.com/rawbybeck, RAWBYBEK. I am Beck Strachan on Instagram, so I'm assuming it'll be in the notes and all the rest of it. Yeah. And Raw by Beck on Instagram as well. Otherwise, you can hit us up at rawbybeck.com.au. We have, if you're in Brisbane, we are offering 7-day free trial passes where you can come in and train as many times as you want in 7 days. But we also have a 7-day free trial for our online program as well. So, where you can train anywhere in the world and get the most incredible workout at a time that suits you.
Fantastic. And yes, we will put all of those links on the show notes. And to get the show notes, go to ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/TCE10, ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/TCE10. For those of you who are listening to the audio podcast, one of the things that we're doing that's quite different from all of the ways that we've previously done our recordings is we're streaming this while we're recording the interview on Facebook. So go and go to that link that I just mentioned, because we'll pop the video there as well. So you can actually watch Beck share her story and her journey as well. Now, for those of you who are listening today and you would love to get your message out in a bigger way, maybe with a podcast, the way to do that is to get the mini training. I know many of you are struggling. You said, I want to take and become an influential voice, want to make a difference one message at a time. To get access to this mini training, I give you my free tools, low-cost tools that I use to get started. Go to annemariecross.com/mini training, annemariecross.com/mini training. I also share step by step the workflow and the checklist of what I do pre and post production, as well as the tools that I use. So go and grab that. Before we go, Beck, one of the things that I've been doing for each of my guests is just saying a word of prayer, a blessing over you, and thanking you for your time, and just continuing to do God's work in your area, in your business. So could I pray for you? Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Dear Father, thank you so much that we could spend some time talking to Beck today. Sometimes going into ministry in our own business can be so scary, particularly if we don't have a map, don't have a plan, don't have all the action steps in place. Sometimes, Lord, it can become challenging. Business can really become challenging. But what a great reminder and a great testimony that Beck shared today, where she just kept focused on you. She surrounded herself with people who supported her, mentors, and continued to develop her skills. And through that, and through trust and leaning into you, has been able to continue to build her business and make an incredible impact in the lives of the clients. We pray a blessing over Beck and over the team, over her clients, over the work that she's doing, to keep her supported. And just making such a great impact. We thank you, and we ask all of this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
No.
Thank you so much, Beck. It's been an absolute treat, a pleasure. You can really see the passion that you have, and I think that makes so much difference, doesn't it? No matter what pathway we are following. And one of the things that you said, every single one of us as Christians, well, everyone in the whole world, even if you don't realize it yet, has been given seeds, which is your purpose and your calling. And when you lean in, when you listen, when you commit it to prayer, and you find out what it is that you make, it just every day, I guess, gets up, even though there may be some challenges and things that you need to do, you get up, but you just love what you're doing because you know that you're making a huge impact, and it's connected to your why. Yes? Would I be true in saying that?
You are spot on. Absolutely. 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
That's right. You've got to be passionate about what you do and the services that you offer to be getting up at that time, for sure.
No, I really do love it. And honestly, it is the biggest reward when you see lives transformed.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Christian Entrepreneurs Podcast, brought to you by BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. Changing the world one message at a time. Do you feel called to influence real change with your message? Join our supportive community of like-minded influencers, thought leaders, and disruptors at www.BeTheDifferenceMovement.com. That's BeTheDifferenceMovement.com.